Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for clicking. It means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And today I'm so excited to recap this episode. Tons of crazy stuff that went down this episode. Just kidding, this episode sucks, but I'm still gonna recap it because I recap every single episode. So let's get into an episode that I actually have some weird feelings about, and I think this is the start of the end for Survivor 42 and also just Survivor in general. So let's get into it. So the episode opens up with Hai talking about last episode, how they were thrown into this weird twist, but his plans, still worked out, and he blindsided Rockshroy. And that to him, last episode was a success. That blindside really furthered his game. We then cut to Mike, who seems to be not as okay with the Rockshroy blindside, which Hai had come to Mike last episode telling Mike that he wanted to, basically blindside Rockshroy instead of going for the easy boot and Romeo. And Mike was not on board, but Hai kind of convinced Mike, and Mike ended up betraying Rockshroy. Mike tells us that he really didn't like lying to Rockshroy, and that hurt. And he's really kind of not happy with Hai right now for the way that he did that to Mike and put Mike in a situation where he had to flip. So Mike goes to Omar, the other person that was kind of in on the blind side, and he voices his concern about the Rockshroy blindside to Omar. But even though Omar isn't necessarily concerned about it and doesn't really agree with Mike that it was done in a bad way, or that Hai kind of strong-arm Mike into doing it, Omar, says that he values Mike's, feelings here. And Omar tells us that he wants to use this to turn Mike against Hai. So Omar tells Mike that Hai has been talking about how Mike, is Hai's, puppet, that Hai is using Mike in the game, and that Hai has Mike in his back pocket, and this infuriates Mike. Mike believes it right away and says that he knew it all along, and this really riles up Mike's feathers, and it really works. And so now Mike wants to go after Hai, and he makes it very clear to Omar as well. And Omar wants to use Mike by saying all this stuff to Mike and rallying him up and basically antagonizing him towards Hai. We then see Omar touch base with Lindsay, his ally from his Taku tribe, and it really just shows how in touch he is with the game. But Omar essentially talks to Lindsay, and Lindsay tells Omar about how abrasive Jonathan was being strategically in this past vote, really trying to strong arm Lindsay into making a big move against Drea, which obviously didn't end up working out. And Omar agrees with her, at least in this moment. We don't know if he actually agrees with her, but he's like, yeah, no, I know. Jonathan's he's such a dumbass. Really validating Lindsay's feelings, and Lindsay says that she may want to go after Jonathan. And Omar's kind of inconclusive on this, doesn't really make a decision at this point, but he will later on. We actually see Lindsay go and kind of, while she's talking to Omar, kind of glide by a tree and put her hand in a tree that has an advantage in it, but she doesn't find it. We then get a scene directly after where Marianne goes to that same tree and finds that advantage, which is just an idol. Apparently they re-hit an idol after it was played at as full powers. There's no beware advantage or any of that. It's a full powered idol that Marianne found, only increasing her power in the game right now. And it's looking scary for those of us who don't want Marianne to win. It's looking very, very scary at this point. Hopefully someone else can pull it out. But it's looking like Marianne's at least going to hit finale night. At this point, she's not really a big threat. She's played a terrible game. And at this point, she's only a big threat in the social category, which people may not notice. And again, she may win similar to Erica. I could also see a Drea winning as well, which would be equally as annoying considering their actions last tribal. It's all, it's just, ugh. We then see a reward challenge in which Lindsay wins. It's a pretty easy one, I guess, because they make it easy since it's raining. Lindsay wins in the middle of the rain, and the challenge is sanctuary in the same place that Ricard and Shan had their last combo as allies last season. It's that spot that has cover, so they are protected from the rain, and apparently they also got food as well, pizza and cold drinks, and so it's a big reward. Lindsay takes Mike and Omar, two people who she wants to get to know better, and on the reward, Lindsay and Omar kind of pressure Mike more into blindsiding Hai by further reiterating what Hai thinks about Mike, secretly. Omar actually straight up lies and tells Mike that Hai has said that Mike is his puppet, his personal puppet that he can use, and drag around to the end. And this infuriates Mike and fully gets Mike on board for a Hai blindside, which is in the best interest of basically everyone in the game right now, as you'll see later on. We then see the immunity challenge where they have to balance like balls on these like things that can teeter back and forth, and so the balls are like trying to go off one side and then off the other, and they basically get to the third round to the bottom of the perch where you have very small foot standings, and it's Jonathan, Lindsay. It's super intense, and Jonathan loses. He gets second place, and now that this opens up to his possible blind side, while Lindsay gets her first immunity, and it seems like this is kind of a long time coming, as she seems like a pretty physical person. And this was kind of in her wheelhouse, since she could balance but also use her hand-eye coordination, and also the fact that she's really in shape. We get back to camp, and Hai tells us that this is his only opportunity to take out the biggest threat in the game in Jonathan, because Jonathan may go on an immunity run and then they'll never be able to get him out. And so he thinks that this is the perfect opportunity to take out Jonathan. Hai goes and tells who he thinks is his #1 ally, but is really just acting like that for this last few hours before he can vote him out. And so Hai goes to tell Mike who he thinks is his #1 ally about this plan. And essentially, Mike just goes and tells Jonathan immediately. I mean, he's like, Jonathan, I haven't lied to you once in the game. They're like coming after you, but we're all gonna vote for Hai. We then see Drea and Lindsay agree that the move is not to vote out Jonathan right now, as we have everyone united and agreeing that Hai is a big threat and that they need to get him out. And so Drea and Lindsay basically agree to put the Jonathan blindside on the back burner and instead go after Hai for this round, because the unity is there. The edit tries to sell that maybe Omar can flip his Taku people and Lindsay and Marianne over to vote out Jonathan, maybe, but it's so obvious that Hai is the blindside this episode, and Hai is the blindside. He ends up going home at Tribal basically unanimously. I think there was maybe one vote with him, and that was probably like Romeo, who is completely out of the picture. But let me know what you thought of this episode in the comments. Did you really like it? Did you really hate it? Is the season looking great? Is the season looking terrible? Let me know in the comments. As always, none of this happens without you guys. Mr. Weird Guy, spin the weird microphone. So as always, thank you. And if that's it, I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.